In many ancient East Asian cultures, wells were never merely structures for daily use. People believed that wells connected the surface of the earth to unseen depths below, places where light could not reach, and where forgotten things might still exist. Because of this, wells symbolized both the gift of life and the presence of hidden danger. Some wells were revered as sacred sources of spiritual water. Others, however, carried an absolute taboo. They must never be looked into. This prohibition did not arise from fear of falling or physical accidents, but from the belief that something at the bottom did not belong to the human world and should never be seen. This legend is told of an ancient village hidden between forests and mountains, completely isolated from major roads. Mist often rises there from late afternoon, covering every path until morning. Outsiders rarely find their way into the village, and even fewer ever stay overnight. At the center of the village stands a very old stone well. Its walls are built from large stone slabs, thickly covered with green moss, slippery and unnaturally cold. The mouth of the well remains dark no matter how bright the sun above. No one uses its water anymore, yet strangely, the well has never been filled in. The elders of the village do not speak much about the well's origin. They pass down only one rule, simple but absolute. You may walk past the well, you may lower your head as you pass, but you must not stop, and you must never look down into it. Children are taught this from a very young age, as an unquestioned part of life, requiring no explanation and allowing no curiosity. By day, the well appears to be nothing more than a forgotten structure. There is no foul smell, no strange sound, no obvious sign of danger. But at night, when the village sinks into silence, the area around the well becomes entirely different. Wind seems to avoid it. Insects do not fly near it. Even dogs refuse to bark close to the well's edge. It is as if the space around the well is holding its breath. People say that on very late nights, if one stands close enough to the well, a faint sound can sometimes be heard. It is not the sound of water, nor is it wind. It feels like an echo rising from an immeasurable depth, appearing briefly before vanishing, leaving the listener unsure whether they truly heard anything at all. One year, a stranger arrives in the village. He is a young scholar who travels widely to collect ancient legends that are slowly being forgotten. When he hears the villagers speak of the forbidden well, he becomes deeply intrigued. To him, it is merely a form of local superstition, created to control human fear of the unknown. Despite repeated warnings from the villagers, he believes there is nothing to fear. He carefully records everything about the well and the taboos surrounding it, then decides to test the legend himself. One late afternoon, as mist begins to rise from the forest and the sunlight fades, he stands alone before the well. The stone rim feels painfully cold beneath his hand. Even though the air itself is not cold, he leans forward just slightly to look into the darkness below. At first, he sees nothing but a vast, bottomless blackness. But as his eyes adjust, he realizes the well is not entirely empty. Something faint reflects a weak light, not sunlight, not lamplight. It is dim, like perfectly still water, yet it carries a sense of depth far greater than it should. Then he feels something that makes his heart cease. Something is looking back up at him, not in the sense of eyes or a face, but as a clear awareness and unmistakable recognition of his existence. The moment is brief, but powerful enough to make him stumble backward in fear. Nothing happens immediately. No loud sound, no horrifying image. Only the silence returns, heavier than before. He tries to convince himself that it was nothing more than imagination born of tension. But from that night on, everything begins to change. The stranger starts having the same dream again and again. In the dream, he stands before the well in complete darkness. There is no village, no forest, only the well and himself. He leans down to look inside, and at the bottom he sees himself staring back up with hollow, lifeless eyes, as if he has been there for a very long time. His health declines rapidly. He becomes withdrawn, his gaze lingering too long on empty spaces. By day, he avoids the well, but at night villagers repeatedly see him standing very close to it, as if drawn by an invisible force. When they try to stop him, he says only one thing: "It knows that I have seen it." One night, during a light rain, the stranger disappears. The next morning, all that is found beside the well is his notebook, open to its final page. On the rain-soaked paper is a single line, written in hurried, trembling strokes: "The bottom of the well is not empty. It is only waiting to be seen." From that day on, the taboo is enforced more strictly than ever. The well is surrounded by a low fence, but no one dares to fill it in. The elders believe that filling the well would not make what lies beneath disappear, it would only force it to find another way to rise. In East Asian belief, wells symbolize deep memory and the layers of the unconscious that humans do not wish to confront. Looking into a well is not merely about physical depth, but about facing what has been buried within oneself. Even today, the legend of the well that must never be looked into continues to exist in whispered stories. No one knows exactly where the well is, but people believe that wherever there is an abandoned ancient well unnaturally cold and perfectly silent, the old rule still applies. Do not look down, not because you might fall, but because some things, once they have seen you, will never stop looking back.